Ever wondered what it would be like to prepare a meal for a king, especially one notorious for his volatile temperament like Henry VIII? Imagine the immense pressure in the royal kitchen, a veritable pressure cooker, if you will. The stakes were high, the margins for error razor-thin. The kitchen staff faced an unenviable task, preparing elaborate feasts for a volatile monarch known for his unpredictable moods. It wasn't just about cooking food, it was a performance, a spectacle. The sheer scale of these feasts was mind-boggling, often consisting of multiple courses, each more extravagant than the last. And with great scale came great responsibility. The kitchen staff were expected to adhere to meticulous rules and standards. Every dish, every ingredient, every garnish had to be perfect. A single misstep could spell disaster, not just for the meal, but for their livelihoods and possibly even their lives. Now that you understand the pressure cooker environment of the royal kitchen, let's turn to the specific rules they had to follow. Serving Henry VIII was not merely about cooking a meal. It was a performance governed by a strict set of rules. In the grand halls of the royal palace, every meal was a symphony of precision and order. The rules of serving were as intricate as a court dance, each step choreographed to ensure the king's satisfaction. The process began with the presentation of dishes. Henry VIII expected his meals to be a visual feast as well as a culinary one. Each dish was meticulously arranged, garnished, and presented on silver platters, the sight of which was as important as the taste. Next came the strict hierarchy of the serving staff. At the top was the Lord Steward, a nobleman responsible for managing the royal household's finances. Beneath him were the controller and the cofferer, who oversaw the kitchen staff and the preparation of meals. Then came the carvers, cupbearers, and servers, each with their designated roles and responsibilities. Perhaps one of the most peculiar rules was the tasting of food. This was not for culinary critique, but to check for poison. A designated taster would sample each dish before it was served to the king, ensuring his safety at every meal. Then there was the protocol for serving wine. This, too, was a meticulous ritual. The cupbearer would first rinse the goblet with wine, watching closely for any sediment or residue. The wine was then poured, tasted, and finally handed to the king, always with the right hand and with a bow. The rules of the royal table were not mere formalities, they were safeguards, strategies of survival in a court where a misstep could cost you your life. A spilt goblet, a poorly presented dish, a tardy server, these were not just faux pas, but potential death sentences. Getting these rules wrong could mean more than just a reprimand. The consequences could be deadly. Imagine the terror of making a mistake when serving the king. A misstep could lead to dire consequences. Picture this: a humble servant named Thomas Appletree who accidentally spilled a goblet of wine on the king's ornate tablecloth. The result? He was banished from the court, his life as he knew it forever altered. Then there was the unfortunate case of Mary, a cook who overseasoned the king's venison stew. The punishment was a public shaming and a month's wages docked. These stories aren't mere tales of yore, they were the harsh realities of serving in the royal kitchen. Every wine poured, every dish served was a test of precision, a dance on the edge of a knife, a dance that could end in disgrace or even death, for in the court of Henry VIII there was no room for error. The risks were great, but so were the rewards for those who could navigate the treacherous waters of the royal kitchen. Despite the risks, many were drawn to the royal kitchen. The rewards for those who succeeded were substantial. Imagine, if you will, a life transformed overnight. From the heat and clamor of the kitchens to the opulent halls of the palace, success in serving the king could catapult a humble servant into a world of wealth and influence. These were not mere crumbs from the royal table. Successful servants could find themselves in receipt of lands, titles, even a noble lineage for their descendants. Their names would be spoken in the hallowed halls of the court, their families elevated, yet this golden opportunity was always shadowed by the ever-present danger of falling from grace. One misstep, one dish out of place, and it could all come crashing down. So consider this: if you were in their shoes, knowing the risks and the rewards, would you dare to serve Henry VIII his next meal?